Hello and welcome to 365 Days Towards Racial Change. My name is Tom Lyndon-Nyback. We're here talking about black issues in America, politics, economics. So we'll talk about a little geography today. Slip that in there. I want to get to some housekeeping first. I've included links. If you're on my private email list, you'll get the link, although the brief notes included with this video has all the information as well. But Dr. Anderson from Heritage Institute, Powernomics.com, is suggesting that black people observe a holiday August 10th, kind of a harvest festival. Maybe we could be kicking something off here. Kwanzaa seems to have lost its steam, or I know it's not a big issue with me. That didn't stick, and partly I would say because it's an uh, African product. Black people, Black Americans descended from slaves are not connected to Africa in that way. So I can understand why it may not have any traction, if at all, in America, in contemporary America. So August 10th, I'll just read the link. You can go to powernomics.com, click the Heritage Festival link there. It's right on the top, and check it out and see what's going on with that. Also today, some headlines made in news. Mitch McConnell, Republican Senate Majority Leader from Kentucky, formerly a slave state. If you follow my project here, Kentucky is Uncle Tom's home state, slave state. But anyway, Mitch McConnell says black people don't deserve reparations because, number one, we had a black president. It's like the guy who says he's not prejudiced because he owns a black dog. The reasoning, the cognition, people don't hear themselves. What they're saying, we had a black president. That eradicates hundreds of years of unpaid labor. You ain't gonna find no white folks letting anybody get away with that. You ain't gonna find white folks letting anybody get away not paying them for a day or two. We're talking hundreds of years. I know my family, my father's side, descended from slaves, and they could really use that. And I'll tell you what, I'm not even personally invested in seeing any reparations. I kind of am doing well, but I think about any family member of mine that could use a leg up, some access to the wealth and resources stolen from our ancestors through coercion, rape, torture, beatings, and whatnot. Mitch McConnell, he gave two reasons. And the second reason was that no one is alive who's responsible for slavery. I bet you if you look at down Mitch McConnell's line from the state of Kentucky, you're going to find some old money created from slavery times. And you're going to find that the source of a lot of this white wealth, big corporate white old money, has its roots in colonial times, free slave labor, stolen land from Native Americans, all that. All that is in there. There, the white people today are recipients of their ancestors' coercion, their ancestors' application of rape, their ancestors' application of all kinds of abuses, terrorism, and atrocities against black folks. How dare he say no one's alive responsible? They're responsible because they perpetuate the abuse in maintaining their position as recipients of those benefits gained. We're going to talk at the end of this piece about land ownership and how some of the communities sacked by white folks for alleged crimes against white people. Uh, so let's get into, so on that note, I just want to get that out of the way. Two thoughts emerge as I continue this project. The mind of America. We see it here in Mitch McConnell's statements. He's so privileged. His position is so normalized. He can't even hear what he's saying about what black people need. You know, the black people are a devastated community. Listen, I should give him a kind of a pass because not even all black people agree with this message. Plenty of black people think we're doing all right in the world. No. So, the mind of America, are black people still in the mental conditioning from slavery times? Our passivity, um, our over ability to be spiritual and compassionate and be taken advantage of on those points, is that uh, uh, some kind of prevailing piece from slavery? Um, and the flip side of that same coin is the white mind. We see it in Mitch McConnell. He says, black people don't deserve nothing because the white people who held the whips and locked the chains no longer um, are no longer alive. Their impact, their long-term impact in America doesn't exist. Everything's equal. That's his mind. That's the white mind. Privilege, expectation, power, these things. And I'm really upset about him minimizing all the free, hundreds of years of free labor. That's like today, his statement illustrates the white mind in America towards black folks. All that free labor, hundreds of years. Yeah, families that they didn't know, had no idea. White families don't know what the beginning of slavery was like, have no idea what the Civil War was like. But in between those times, you had white people just lounging. You had black people just lived that whole generation, blocks of generation, being slaves. This issue's, I hope it gets momentum and really ramps up, and I can put my 2 cents in effectively into the arguments. Now, my second thought is for financial literacy. Black folks. One thing I'm afraid of is this, especially with financial literacy. See, I don't know, like, see, white folks are kind of stupid in this financial sense of reparations, because the majority of black folks don't know what to do with the money anyway. We would just spend it. With the Chinese, we'd go to Walmart. Really. It's not like we would, in a sense, get that money and start some business entities and sound investment strategies and some higher financial reasonings. I live in a state where marijuana is legal, recreational. They'd go, a lot of us black folks going to go buy pounds and pounds of weed and just smoke it up, drink it up, if the alcohol problem's not been addressed. You know, give me if you had given me any reparations, you know, years ago in some of the states, some of the conditions I've been in with my relation with drugs and alcohol, I'd be dead by now, having drunk and drugged myself to death. So white people dragging their heels on reparations, they should like get it over with and just see if we implode, see if black people implode from these whatever grants or however they would do it. But they want to drag and drag and drag, which is good for us. We can get some education, get some financial literacy, make some proper moves when the time comes. I foresee some type of movement in that uh, with the reparations. But financial literacy, if you give, uh, you dump a whole bunch of money or something on a person who's not mature, who's not financially literate, they're going to go and blow it somehow. Gambling, um, not putting that money as a resource for a recurring income, passive income, those kind of things. Very important. So I hope I'm wrong about that, but people are going through stages and their process. Hit me with some lottery winnings 10 years ago, I'd be dead today, having overdosed or drunk myself to death on something. But give it today. I'm going to ask actually my white mentors, um, some people who I know are on my side, what to do with that, how get some education that way. So that's important. That's my second thought. A lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. On the note of Dr. Anderson and his Heritage Festival kind of holiday, August 10th, 2019. Once you get his books, visit powernomics.com. You'll find these resources. Black History Reader, we reference this consistently. Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America. Powernomics.com. As I say, you can find Dr. Anderson Powernomics. But you can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com and the Heritage Institute in Washington, D.C. Please look him up, check him out. We are in Powernomics today, just looking at page 63 is the chapter 3 introduction about building competitive communities. At the end, we're going to talk about some of our sacked communities: Rosewood, Tulsa, D.C., a lot of places. You can look up, you can Google that online. Just Google black communities sacked. They'll give you 8 right off the bat of where communities, back in the 40s and that era, where, some crime has been alleged by the white community, and thousands of white men gather and murder, burn, and sack whole thriving black communities. There's a war against black skin, and there's a hyper-violent response. And we talked about that just recently. A kid, he stole something from the store, and he was wrong. Little black child, he was wrong to do that. But law enforcement comes with guns drawn. These guys are 3 and 4 deep and being abusive and physically aggressive with this little young family. Incredible, incredible. Um, very, very sad. Very sad. America, there are a lot of communities, organizations, groups with other interests and goals that say America is going to have to answer for some of these consequences. And the longer you put it off, the worse it gets. I got all this dental work going on, right? And from ignorance, laziness, mismanagement of funds, a lot of work's got to be redone and stuff like that. Doing stuff twice. It's twice, but it's now some of the damage is more extensive now. So there's an increased fee instead of getting the work done properly when I needed it. Now there's an escalation. And so, not just black folks and this project, this year-long project here, are religious circles. Um, feel some of the evangelical religious circles I've participated in, say America you know, is due for some comeuppance for its way in the world. You know, we've got religious groups. We can see cities and groups through religious history, through the Old Testament, um, suffering some wrath because of their um, ignorance of or disobedience toward a God, things like that. You got black people, you know, waiting for reparations. Some groups like, you know, and I think America even has compounded and exacerbated their issue with black folks, and it's running out because the Japanese get repayment for their internment. Um, whole nations have been financed. We helped rebuild Germany after that war and devastation. And groups, America is always making a way. We got our southern border inundated. Uh, they're overrun and can't keep up, but they're doing everything. America's doing everything it can for the Hispanic, that Latin population on the earth. You know, um, so black folks. For one thing, there ain't many of us to begin with. We're a minority now. We've been overrun by the Hispanic population. So, you know, their America's indifference and indecisiveness towards the black issue, that may come back on them. It's going to be poetic, I believe. Some comeuppance there. On that note, we're talking about building competitive communities. Okay, in these last few minutes. And Dr. Anderson, and this is from his book. He's illustrating. He goes point by point, outlining specific strategies for building up Black America. His August 10th suggestion is great. I don't know. I don't know what will happen or what I can do, but be interesting to see how I can participate. But we don't have a celebration of this. We don't have a celebration of our connection with slavery. It's important. That will come, I think that is one function that will help us build our strength in a competitive community. So we're looking for group strength. A functional community has a definition here. Let me read it right out of the book. It's a group of people who come together and organize for their own self-interest rather than misdirected altruistic interest. Us black folks are so compassionate and so self-sacrificing at times to a fault. You know, but we need to. It's something I wrote in the brief notes as well. It's okay to acknowledge some hurt in the world, and it's okay not to intercede or inject every single time. You know, sometimes yes, someone else will uh, pick up that slack. We don't have to be the hero of the world. And part of it is that we don't get reciprocated. I know that's not the definition of true altruism and whatnot. To look for something in return, but it's just all too often we are not being compensated. You know, the energy can't always flow out, always outward. That diminishes our potency and power. So we need to get some feedback, some return. I'm a guitar player, and when I was playing actively live, my most difficult nights were when I couldn't get any feedback to the guitar. It's an important aspect of how I exist in that sonic space. It helps me, it aids me. Think about Jimi Hendrix and that kind of thing. That's what I needed. So some of that feedback. So it's okay to be exclusive and selfish and all that, black folks. It's okay. The Arabs, Asians, Hmong, um, all these communities, groups, Hispanics do that. You know, they when they help, when they reach out, they're reaching out, doing some altruistic endeavor from their strength. They gathered their strength, and then they got some energy to put out there. Don't we don't want to we can't be a competitive community if we're always weak and anemic. That's not that's not how it works. We can be exclusive. We can be selfish. Um, gather our strength and make it happen. From that space, though, focused, exclusive, strength, then we can be offensive. We're not to hurt, but when we make a move, we're not uh, making 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. You know, let's make 2 steps forward, hold that space. 2 steps forward, hold that space. You know, maybe lose a half a step. But not all this. We get these gains, and all of a sudden we're regressing. My history with drugs and alcohol looks just exactly like that. You know, get a little clean time. I sober up. I clean up. Bank accounts, everything nice and secure and stable. And then I start drinking and drugging again, and everything tumbles down. I lose way more ground than I ever gained every time I engage in that. I self-sabotage. Black folks must not do that. We need to behave properly, get out of this incarceration loop, start being transparent with one another, a whole list of things. That's how we're going to get that community, strong competitive community, um, and be offensive. Let me finish though with I want to talk about Washington D.C., Rosewood, Tulsa, Oklahoma, other places around the nation where there were uh, specific land spaces, land ownership by communities of black people that I said were sacked on alleged crimes against white communities. Most of the rumors and alleged crimes have to do with some offense to a white woman. Boy, that's just big old capital crime. Let's for that they go and sack and destroy whole communities. Everybody's valuable and all this stuff, but it's just an excuse. We don't have proof. We just the rumor starts, throw a little alcohol in there, and you got a dangerous mob, sacking whole black communities. There's one community was even bombed from an airplane. If you remember pictures of the group called Move in Philadelphia, that same type of violence against them. I don't know, I'm not familiar with all aspects of the story, but just leave people alone. And they were abused and targeted by a racist Mayor Rizzo, who created his white police force. But very bad times back then when Rizzo was mayor of Philadelphia, ex-cop, all that stuff. So very, very challenging times for the city of brotherly love. Anyway, but land ownership is what we want to finish on because we don't want to be have some type of cyberspace as ownership and this cyberspace to validate what's going on in the world. Um, that's no good. We need land, ground that you go with a shovel and you dig dirt and own. That's your land. That's what brings respect. It's currency in America. It's um, it means. It's really it establishes some roots in America. That's the American way. If you rent like I do, then that means you're paying someone's mortgage. You're paying for someone's land. You're paying their rent. They just signed the deeds of ownership. Remember all this white owned land was stolen from Native Americans. All the labor that cleared it was the unpaid labor of black people from Africa. Uh, you know, and now it's interesting. And now see, I'm very much. I've spent some time getting some understanding of real estate and whatnot. I'm appalled by the arrogance, uh, this privileged class of people who take this land, they've taken the resources out, now they build living spaces on it, and then they charge me to obtain it. And they've just had some strokes of pen. If they're old money and old family, like we talked about at the top of this post, then they are managing land that their ancestors stole from Native Americans and get took unpaid labor from black folks. What much of this land? Like go. If it's too bad electronic history isn't for all time. Records are lost and whatnot. And I know not all white people are recipients of this. Uh, but if you look back, I bet you'll find most white people who own the land got it by um, by force, deception, and manipulation, exploitation. You know, yes, black people more than deserve reparations, because just as the white folks are the white folks' ancestors are recipients, today's white folks are recipients of their ancestors' coercion and exploitation of a group of people. Black people are recipients of um, of being exploited. You know that we have inherited all the vulnerabilities and disadvantages of our ancestors. We've inherited that. You know, so let's get up on this reparations argument. I'm just going to end with back to land ownership. That's where it's at. We need to start getting some land together. Maybe that would be the reparations. But parcel out some good lands, help us, get some infrastructure in there, leave us alone, you know, and it's going to be black responsibility not to be turned into some drug selling ghetto and stuff. It's very sad. I used to drive trucks strung out on cocaine. I know I could just go to any black neighborhood, you know, challenge black neighborhood. There's some cocaine in there, you know. We need to get away from that. I'm sorry for participating in that way, but we're not going to get anywhere if reparations mean we just perpetuate some kind of niggardly um, existence in the world. We can be sophisticated, proper, transparent, uh, just as well, if not better, than white folks. I'm Tomlin's Nyback. It's day 170 out of the way, 365 days towards racial change. Important piece today. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.